Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back with an FIA highlights video in the FIA Nations Championship at Bathurst in the MX-5 touring car. So this round we managed to jump on for slot 3. This was my first race of the day and we actually qualified in P1. You can see P2 it shows first and then we're actually in P1 there. We did a pretty alright lap. It was a 27.3. Now I think it could have been quite a bit faster if we would have got the perfect run, but we had to lift a few areas, but still a good time. So starting from P1, lights are about to go out. Let's get this race underway and see what result we can get from this FIA top split nations race. So going into turn 1, car on the outside got a slightly better start. However, we've got the inside line. We can carry more speed through the corner and we take that line and put ourselves into P1. So now we're on the uphill drag race. We're going to stay to the right hand side of the track, obviously, from this position to guard the inside line. And it makes sense for P2 to probably bump draft, which he's going to do. You can see he stays behind us, gives us a bump draft into turn 1. Now we're going to go to the left hand side of the track. As you can see, he wants us to go to the left so we can take a proper racing line through there. And we've got to brake a bit early because we've got cold tyres. He goes a little bit deep into the brakes. I don't know if he gets a little hit from behind there, but unfortunately for John there, he runs wide and he's going to lose quite a few positions. So looking at the cars as we work our way up into the hill section here, and again, this time of day on GT Sport is unrivaled for the visuals. You can see it looks absolutely amazing. I do love the touring cars, always gives very close racing, but this combination was quite tricky, especially the downhill section of Bathurst. A lot of time to be lost or gained in that downhill section. The rest of the lap there was pretty much flat out, so it was just a case of following in that slipstream. But you can see we seem to have got a breakaway group here. Top 3 starting to pull away slightly as we work our way down to the downhill section, and this is where you needed to do a bit of moderation between the brake and the accelerator. So what that means is keeping a bit of throttle input in while you're on the brake. Now what this does is it creates a much more stable car. So as you're going through the downhill section, your car will be less inclined to move about. But you can see, look at my throttle inputs as I'm going on the brakes there. I'm putting about 20 to 15% throttle in on the braking zone. Now that's just keeping stability in the car and keeping that car much more planted. You can do this kind of trick as well with a Ferrari in Group 3 and stuff like that in certain corners to create a bit more stability. Now as we come through here, he goes for a move on the outside. We've got the inside now into this next line. We get a little bit of a contact from behind. We've got Nathan going down the left hand side. We're going to go for his slipstream. He goes back to right, then back to the left. Totally confuses me, but luckily we managed to hold on to position. And Miyamu there, I don't know whether he got a half-second penalty from the downhill section. It's very easy to do, so that is my guess. He probably got that half-second penalty on the downhill section where you have to cut over the grass. So unfortunately for him, he's going to have to take that as we go up the hill now. So he's going to lose a little bit of time with that. However, we've still got the slipstream to P2 and we're going to gain on P1. So he's going to do that little trick on the grass there just to lose a little bit less time. And we're back into P2 and we've got John back behind us there in P3. So kind of gone back to the start positions almost. However, we're in P2 here and Nathan's obviously in P1 and John's behind us there, so it's not that different from the lap 1. But now we're just going to stay behind Nathan and basically work with him. There was no point fighting this from my point of view. We said this during the practice race. This is the type of race where you don't want to be battling too much. You want to work with the people around you, especially in the opening laps. There is not much point in fighting and overtaking and stuff. You really want to just work together and bump draft each other and get away from the chaos. So I decided to start that off and just start working together to try and really just ensure a podium position, because like I say, this is a short race. If you work together in these races, you'll find that you'll get away from a lot of the chasing pack that are fighting. So yeah, on the downhill section, just trying to keep it nice and smooth now behind Nathan, and we were pretty confident as well with John behind us at this point that he was going to be working on the same game plan, because at the start of the race he bump drafted me on the main straight. So I felt pretty confident that this group we could get away from the pack and then maybe fight it out at the end. So on the downhill straight now, using the slipstream, and again we're going to go up behind Nathan, give him a whack, and that's going to help him gain a little bit of speed. Now this is actually kind of a tactic used in these type of cars in real life, a little bit more gentle though, I would think, than the aggressive bump drafting on GT Sport. But now we're coming to the end of lap 2. We're in P2, so in a solid position still. We've got John behind. You can see he's not going to lunge it into the braking zone. Pretty confident that he was just going to play this safe. And yeah, into the final corner to finish another lap. So 2 laps done out of the 9 laps. A long way to go still in this race. Skipping ahead to the midway point of lap 3, so half a lap further down the road. And we're going to look behind us in the mirror there, because John behind us gets a little bit out of shape on the downhill section, and you can see a lot of cars struggling through here, and this is where the moderation really came into play. So you can see as he clips the wall there, clips the wall again, that's going to mean they're going to be fighting behind us, and that's going to probably give us a chance to break away from the slipstream. So we're going to go back into Nathan's slipstream in front of us, and we can see that we've managed to get away from that slipstream by about a tenth or so. So a perfect situation now, because we've got the run on the downhill section. We're going to get that slipstream down here, and we can start working together to pull away from the battling cars behind us. So yeah, that moderation on the braking really did come in handy. I'd say that's where I managed to get a bit of consistency. Although this was my first race of the day, we just jumped on because I didn't do the first 2 races, so I wasn't really fully up to speed. I knew I could do 29 zeros with no slipstream in race conditions, but yeah, obviously when you just jump on, you tend to have a bit of a scuff race. As Nathan there gets all out of shape, that means we're going to have to go for the overtake, because if I don't go for the overtake there, I believe that Coyote would have got the slipstream from me. So it made more sense to tuck in the inside line, get ahead of Nathan, and let him pick up our slipstream up the main straight, and hopefully he would then stay ahead of the slipstream from Coyote. So now we're leading the race, and we've got Nathan behind us, who probably now at this stage was going to work together, hopefully, and do the same as what we were doing to him, and just try and help each other's pace, and then we can battle it out on the last lap or last 2 laps. So working our way up the hill, will he do the same on this main straight? He's getting the slipstream behind us. Now I didn't want to go to the right side and go defensive, because I felt that he would do the clever thing here, because in these situations it's best to work together. And again, he works with us, he gives us a bump draft, and yeah, we skip ahead quite a few laps now, and you can see we're still doing the same thing, bump drafting, and we're now on lap 7, so not long left in this race. We've skipped ahead quite a few laps there as we were just working together. There wasn't much to see, it was just bump drafting, working together, teamwork. However, on lap 7, Nathan must have felt this was a good point to go for a move. My personal thing, I would have probably waited a lap later to start battling, because this is going to likely bring in other cars into the battle. However, I totally understand, everyone's got their own way of doing it, and that's totally fair. And obviously as well, with himself being teammates with Coyote, it might have had an influence on it, and maybe trying to bring Coyote into the race as well. So as we come through there though, Nathan makes a huge mistake, and now again, if I bump draft him, there's a possibility with Coyote 1.1, 1.2 seconds behind, he could pick up that slipstream. So I go down the left. We're going to start battling this out now, because it's clear that they want to race for these last few laps, and it does look like we've secured a podium no matter what. So we can probably battle this out and have a bit of fun, because we've got the 2 cars behind us, and then there's quite a big gap. You can see on the track map there's a little bit of a gap, and you can also see behind Coyote there is a little bit of a gap. So again, Nathan's going to bump draft us here, because there's not really an overtaking position on this part of the track. This part of the track, it isn't really worth trying to go side by side through these corners. It's very, very risky. So as we go on the downhill section again, you're going to see that moderation of the accelerating and braking together. And again, I do recommend people do that in some cars, because at tracks like this as well, on the downhill section, it can really help with stability. So keep an eye on that when we come into the braking zone. Again, you can see it through here, just a tiny bit of acceleration in while I'm braking, and it really does keep that stability through the corners. So yeah, that's why the car was quite stable for me. So if you've ever got any questions of how we do that, that's what we're doing. We're just putting a bit of throttle input in while we're braking, just to keep that stability. It stops the rear end snapping out so much, and just gives you better exit speed. So as we're coming down the main back straight again, we have Nathan going for the move on us there on the right hand side, and he's going to put himself back into P1. So now we've got Coyote in this battle. You can see he's now in the slipstream, and this is why, for me, I would have waited till the end of lap 8 to start battling it out for me, because now we've brought Coyote into the battle. But their teammates, this is going to be very difficult for me, because they're probably going to work together to try and secure a 1-2 in this race. However, we're going to try and fight this and see if we can get a result out of it into the final corner, trying to get a good solid exit, getting in that slipstream. And now we're going to start the penultimate lap. So 2 laps to go in this race. On lap 8, this is going to be really interesting as we work our way to the last lap. So yeah, we're going to get the slipstream from Nathan. Now I decided at this point, I'm not going to go for an overtake, because I knew for a fact if I go for an overtake here, what will happen is you'll have Coyote, who will then bump draft Nathan, and then they'll both get past me. So I decided to bump draft him on the inside there and try and hold on to P2 at this point of the race, because I felt if I go for a move here, it's pretty simple what would happen. We'd end up losing one position and end up down in P3. So through this fast corner again, Nathan runs a little bit wide there. We get quite a good exit off there, and we've got a nice run on him. We've got Coyote behind us, and we're going to just carry on bump drafting, because if we don't, we're going to lose that position. So trying to play this tactically. We've got Coyote looking to get past us. We're trying to get past Nathan, but trying to do it in a way that we don't lose a position as well. This is actually a really entertaining race. So I did enjoy this race. Great battling with these two fair drivers as we work our way on the top of the hill. And now, again, we're not going to try and do an overtake at this point of the track. And if you just look in the bottom right hand corner, you can just see how close this battle was between all three cars. Almost bumper to bumper. Absolutely insane racing going on here. Probably all within 3 tenths, 2 tenths of each other from P1 to P3. So you can also see here how much of a gap we've got to P4. So we can actually afford to battle this out a bit, lose a bit of time, and we're all still going to come away with at least the podium. So as we come on the downhill section, trying to make sure we get a nice run. At this point, we're in quite a good slipstream range from Nathan in front of us. You want to be about 3-4 tenths so you get a real nice run on him. So onto the downhill section, trying to get on that throttle nice and early into third gear. And we do that pretty well. We got a nice run on him. Also behind us there, Coyote gets a really nice run as well. So both of the cars behind getting good exits. And you can see that we're gaining. Now we're going to go for the overtake this lap to see if we can lead into the final lap and hold on to it. So I felt like this was the best plan. We're going to go to the left-hand side of the track. We've got a nice run on Nathan there. We're going to go around the outside of him. Now, I wasn't aware at this point, but you can see in the mirror there that Nathan gets a bump draft that puts him back alongside us. And when I realise I have to give him space, we try and turn into the close to the curb. We hit the curb, and we do clip Nathan off slightly there. Now, it was a little bit aggressive, but what I will say is we'll review that at the end of this race. It was not as cut and dry as I would say some people say. Some people would say that was fair what we did. We were over about 3/4 of a car ahead in the apex, and also we did hit the curb, so we kind of got a lot of understeer because we only had 2 tyres in contact with the ground. But yeah, we'll have a little look at that, the replay of that, and let you lot decide. Some people will say it's not good, some people will say it's not. At the end of the day, it wasn't intentional, and I don't think it was enough to warrant backing off in that situation, because I felt like if we were side by side, at least say 50% of the car side by side, then probably it would warrant me backing off and letting Nathan through. But in the situation like that, I don't think it did. So Coyote now bump drafting us up the main straight, and we've driven pretty much faultlessly in terms of not making any huge errors in this race up to this point. So can we keep this up now and try and get a very good run? You can see behind us there, you've still got Coyote going for the move around the outside. Now he's going to see if he can battle us. We're going to have to be defensive here as well as trying to hold on to a position. So you've got Nathan still in the slipstream to Coyote, and we just got to try and get a good run on this hill. However, Coyote now is going to get a massive amount of slipstream all the way up this hill. This is where it really does gain you quite a bit on the uphill section, because that's where the car lacks power, and he's going to get that nice slipstream all the way to the top of the hill. And then for the downhill section, he's going to have a nice run. So we just got to try and keep it smooth here, not make any big errors, try and get good exits from the corners. Had to go aggressive though, because if we don't go aggressive, they're going to get us anyway with the slipstream. So I had to go quite aggressive here. So throwing it into this corner, using that modulation on the braking inputs, you can see, trying to keep it nice and close to the apex so we can get on the throttle early to throw it in there. A little bit of sideways drift, but we managed to do it okay. You can see that Coyote behind does that also. And then on the way down here, our only mistake in the race, we just turned in too early. I really tried to nail the corner, clip the wall. That loses us so much momentum. And unfortunately for us, that is going to lose us 2 positions. You can see there, little clip on the wall. We lost 2 positions. My mistake. Should have really took a wider line, but I was trying to really attack the corner to try and hold on to the wing, because I knew it was 2 teammates versus myself. And what they're doing is perfectly acceptable. I would do it if I was in a team. Work together. It's obvious everyone would do it. If you're with a teammate, you're going to work together to secure a result. So into the braking zone, we can't really go for a move there. We can't really go around the outside. I could have probably put it around the outside there, similar to what Nathan did to us before, but it wasn't worth the risk. And then into the final corner again. We could definitely have sent this here, but again, it could have just ended in a crash. So again, I had a little look and realised it wasn't really worth doing. Try and go around the outside and maybe do a cut back on him here. But yeah, there was no real opportunity to make that move. And we're going to hold on for a P3 in this top split race, which, to be honest, it's not the worst thing, but I think it does show you the improvement we've made on Gran Turismo Sport recently, because I was a little bit disappointed with 350 points. So decent points, but still disappointed with them points. Shows you that we are making good progress within Gran Turismo Sport in terms of how competitive we are. So let's go and have a little look at the incident that caused a bit of controversy in that race. and see what we think. It's a hard one, I think, because as we come through here, we can see we've got the inside line. We hit that curb quite aggressively, and he's just clipped the back right-hand side of my tyre. At no point was he more than a quarter of the car ahead. You can see at this point here, which is way into the apex, you can see that he's only just level with my rear right-hand tyre, which for me isn't probably quite enough. And also what probably contributed to the fact that we understeered a bit was the fact that we hit that curb very aggressively. You can see here, we hit the curb and we had only 2 tyres on the ground. So we couldn't really get the grip and the steering because we were trying to give space. And that's why we went aggressively into the corner to try and give that space. So there was no intention of pushing him wide, but it was very difficult. I think it was a racing incident. I don't think it was enough for me to back out and let him back through in that situation, because I don't think they would have done the same. I'm pretty sure they would have carried on in that situation as well. So yeah, we come away with a P3. Not the worst result. Enjoyable race. I hope you lot enjoyed it. Hope you lot subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification button and we'll be back with more live content and videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.